So I was at the depression place earlier to just refill my depression bottle so I can, just get back in that zone. And the people at the store, they told me, hey, you're such a great return customer. Do you want a new office chair? And I said, is it free? And they said, no, you fucking cunt. Why would it be free? You're gonna have to spend half your life savings on it when your old chair just falls apart for no fucking reason. And then you're gonna have to carry a 22 kilogram box of IKEA shit through the city. So that was fun. Okay, so the title is not entirely accurate, but you see how I'm learning the ways of YouTube here? Today I clickbait, tomorrow I'll have all kinds of social media accounts, and then I'll do a giveaway, and then the final step, undisclosed advertisements. I think I'm really getting the hang of this. So here's the deal. Communists and anarcho-capitalists are both based around the same simple premise. Given incentive and opportunity, people will decide not to be cunts. The two ideologies may be very different from each other, but they both require this basic thing to be true. The anarcho-capitalists have the non-aggression principle, and communists just assume that everybody's interested in the welfare of everybody else and not primarily in their own. If the premise is true, nobody will take your shit and you will require no central authority to regulate it all. And also, if the premise is true, no mouth will go unfed and everybody will just diligently work to spread out the resources justly and how they're supposed to be spread out. The problem with the premise can be easily summed up with, but that's not realistic though. While most people are certainly just decent human beings who want a nice and simple life and just the basic things, you just need a small bunch of cunts to fuck it all up, because they will get into certain positions, because they gravitate towards those positions, and those positions are most attainable for people of a certain constitution. So, worked for a week on that one. It's fucking comedy gold. You know the people who can always cut the best deals for themselves? You know, the ones who might play a little dirty in the game of capitalism? They'll be the ones on top, obviously, in a purely capitalist society. And what if one of them just one day goes ahead and decides, hey, you know what? Fuck the non-aggression principle. I'm just gonna take other people's shit because I want more property. Who's gonna stop me? The people who have fewer thugs because they can't afford more of them? Similarly, in a communist society, the people with all the power will be the ones who are very good at playing the game of politics. You know, the ones who can trade in favors, and the ones who are going to backstab you when you're no longer useful to them because they can't really carry around all that pointless baggage on the way to the top. And what if they go and think to themselves, you know what, I could live like some random dude, or I could live like a fucking king and take all the resources I am in charge of for myself. Who's gonna oppose me? The people who I'm cutting a bigger slice of the cake? The people whom I have dirt on and who owe me favors? Anyone who could oppose me, anyone who's powerful enough, is better served not doing that. You see the problem here? The cunts will always work their way to the top. It's how it's always been. They don't really care about your non-aggression principle or your fucking worker solidarity. They don't have any moral standards. They just want to get ahead. And they will go to great lengths to achieve just that. If your society lacks a certain diversity of power, you're essentially just giving it over to the sociopaths. When all the power is with money, people with the most money will have all of the power. And when all the power is in government, people with the highest position in government will be able to secure the most resources for themselves. And don't think for a second that people are just gonna band together to defend their utopian society. Morals are cheap when the going's good, but they can get very expensive and luxurious when you have someone much bigger than yourself just stomping down on them because they don't really much care for those particular morals. And yes, people are decent, as I've said before, but they will only very rarely act in their own best interest, and even fewer of them are flat out suicidal. When the racketeers come to your store and say, hey man, you can pay us 20% of your shit as a tribute each month. or we can just wreck your shit because we have the weapons and there's more of us and you don't. And what if the stormtroopers come and take the people speaking out against the dictatorial ruler into the gulags? Are you gonna speak out on the risk that your family is gonna get fucking executed? Somehow, I don't think so. People do fight back at some point, but for that to happen, the situation has to become very terrible. And more often than not, they'll find themselves incapable of defeating this overwhelming force that controls every single aspect of their society. You think the Germans could have defeated the Nazis on their own? Did the Soviet Union collapse solely because of the terrible famines that it was stricken by? Did Rome fall only because the losers in their society were dissatisfied with the ruling elites? Did the slaves liberate themselves? All of these places were proper shitholes for those who weren't winners, and all of them had nothing left to lose. And even then, they were weakened, if not outright cracked, by outside forces. Sure, your utopia may work for a couple years, but it will not work for a long time. Look, societies are like diets. They need to be diverse in order to be healthy. You need the fruit, and you need the veggies, and the meat, and the fish. You need the salt, and the fats, and the sugars, and the carbs, and the vitamins, and all the omega-3s. If you try to subsist on one of these alone, you're gonna get sick, and then eventually you're gonna die. So the more diverse the sources of power are in your society, the healthier it'll be. That's why we split the government up into executive, legislative, and judicial. That's why we have rich and famous people like scientists and philosophers and artists who say things in their opinions and people listen to them. That's why we have newspapers and people spouting their views on the internet. That's why we have democracy, because it balkanizes power. And the more balkanized power is, the more everybody is forced to work in each other's interest for their own interest. If you cut most sources of power away, that's a recipe for disaster. This is why the US is failing these days, because they've allowed a very small select group of highly prolific sociopaths to amass so much money that they can just purchase all the other sources of power. So understand that communism has never worked out, not because it was never done right, because it can't work. Because in order for it to work, humans would have to be radically different from what they are, which they're not. And yes, we have never technically had a anarcho-capitalist nation, but that's only because anarchy does not exist. Eventually, the big man racketeer will always come around and style themselves king or emperor or lord or president, chairman, fucking horse licker, I don't know. Anarchy is an absence of codified rules and hierarchies, and human beings will always produce themselves over time rules and hierarchies, and the one with the most power will eventually get to codify those rules they like best. But the whole thing about anarchy not being a thing, that's gonna be a subject for an entirely different video, so just stay tuned for that. So in summary, communism and anarcho-capitalism do not work because both of them require for there to be absolutely no ruthless individuals who care only about enriching themselves, and healthy societies keep those people out of absolute control by preventing them from reaching critical mass, because they play them against each other. If you enjoyed this video, please do click where the tip of my penis would be in frame right now. It's a small hint, it's where the like button is. It is really that big. And if I triggered any ANCAPs or communists here, please do feel free to leave a dislike, but I would much rather you comment and leave some arguments and maybe try and change my mind. Because if that's what you think, well, we have to think that you're right. So please do and try and spread your thoughts, because I'm interested in hearing them. Most of all, I'd like you all to subscribe and stay tuned for more shitty content, and also good content sometimes, because there's a lot left for me to say. Yeah, I'm out of words, but I haven't finished the sentence, so just toodaloo, I guess. Also, here's another thing: if you speak German and also really English, check out my mate Reicht, who does glorious shitposting in the name of Keck, and also some very, very nice arguments that you can do. Is right now most of his content is in German, but he is currently expanding into a more English-speaking audience, and the accent it's pretty fucking hilarious, if I do say. It's like an angry foreigner thing. Only has to keep his identity secrets because he's German, and the Antifa might kill him if, you know. Yes. So go take a gander at his content, is what I'm saying. Same goes for Politiekman, who's a very smart Dutch guy who does very smart Dutch guy content. His videos are very clear and concise, and he explains to you the politics, which he knows a lot about, so do go and check him out as well.